Welcome back to 1 Lesson 3 Math. Greetings and salutations. The highly anticipated return is here, and the first video in a long time is the linear graphs review. So we have two questions. The first one is that Tom Arto wants to find out if two linear graphs are parallel. The first one is as follows: 2y minus 6x equals 10. The second graph passes through the following points: 0 and 3 and 2 and 9. Tom Arto doesn't know what to do. Help him out. The second question says find the equation of the linear graph shown in the form y equals mx plus c. Remember, m, gradient, is change in y divided by change in x. C is the intercept, which is the coordinates 0 and c, where the graph cuts the y-axis, and the graph shown is in the fancy purple and green colours with 2 points, 1 and 6 and 5 and 26. So if you'd like to have a go at the questions, please pause the video now before I proceed with the solutions. So, looking at question 1, we've got 2y minus 6x equals 10. So what we need to do with that graph is we need to rearrange the equation so that we've got y equals. That could, in another question, say make y the subject. So we're going to start rearranging. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add 6x to both sides because I want to clear up around the y. So if I add 6x to both sides of the equations, both sides of the equal sign, then I'm going to have 2y equals 6x plus 10. So that's already looking like the form that we want, y equals mx plus c, where m is the gradient and c is the intercept. And now we can divide by 2 throughout, and that gives us y equals 3x plus 5. That means the number in front of the x is the gradient, and therefore the first equation, the first linear graph that Tom Arto has a gradient of 3. So now we're going to look at the second graph, and we're going to find the gradient for those 2 points. Now, the gradient is calculated change in y divided by change in x. So I'm looking at the y coordinates, that's the 3 and the 9. So the change in the y, 9 take away 3, and the change in the x is 2 take away 0. Remember to always start from the same coordinate. To do this, you can see that from 3 to 9 it goes up 6. From 0 to 2 it goes up 2. So we can calculate the gradient, 6 divided by 2. That gives us 3. So we know that the gradient of the 2 points, of the line that passes through the 2 points, is 3. So the gradient for both of those graphs is 3, and that means that the graphs are parallel. Now, just to look at the 0, 3 coordinate, that is the intercept. So actually the second graph has the equation y equals 3x plus 3 because it passes through 0 and 3. So it's got a gradient of 3 in front of the x, and the plus 3 indicates that it passes the y-axis at 0 and 3. So that's the equation of the second graph. So you can see that y equals 3x plus 5 and y equals 3x plus 3 are going to be parallel because they've got the same gradient. So they're parallel. So Tom Arto didn't know, you do. Now, question 2, we need to find the gradient of the line that passes through these 2 points. So again, gradient is the change in y divided by the change in x. So we're going to start to calculate here, and basically you've got the gradient. Now, the change in y, it goes from 6 to 26, so that's 20. And the change in x, the x coordinates go from 1 to 5, so that's 4. So we're doing the change in y, which is 20, divided by the change in x, which is 4. So 20 divided by 4 gives us a gradient of 5. So what we can now do is we can start to write the equation of our linear graph in the form y equals mx plus c, because we've worked out that the m is 5. So now we have y equals 5x plus c. Now here we've got 3 things that we don't know. The y and x are always changing as you go along the graph, but the c is a constant, the same as the gradient is a constant. So what we can do when we have three things that we don't know, if we can sub two of them in, we can work out the other one. Now when you've got a pair of coordinates, you've got a y value and you've got an x value. So I'm going to pick 1 and 6 because they are going to be easier numbers to deal with, but you can choose either of the pairs of coordinates. So I'm going to sub in x equals 1 and y equals 6. So that's my first pair of coordinates, and I'm going to sub that into the equation as it is. So instead of the y, I'm going to write 6. Instead of the x, I'm going to write 1. Now that means that 6 equals 5 times 1 plus c, because obviously we've got 5x. So 5 times 1 is representative of the 5x. So a little bit of, well, I'll move this up first of all so that I've got a bit of space to work with. So now the equation as it is going to be 6 equals 5 plus c. And we can quickly see there, take away 5 from both sides, c equals 1. So we can write that equation now as y equals 5x plus 1. That means that it's going to cut the y-axis at 0, 1, because it's 5x plus 1. So there we are. Now I hope that's been a helpful tutorial. I am a bit rusty, but there'll be plenty more tutorials coming over the coming weeks, so keep an eye out on the 1 Less Than 3 Math YouTube page. Give the video a like, give the page a follow, and good luck with your maths studies. Hasta la pizza, arrivederci, so long, goodbye, we will see you next time.